An Air Canada Boeing 767 with 128 passengers returned safely to Madrid's airport on Monday after reporting an engine issue and a burst tire on takeoff that forced it to circle for hours to burn fuel before landing. Reuters television footage showed the Boeing 767-300ER, which had left Madrid Barajas Airport bound for Toronto about 4 hours earlier, landing safely and fire engines rushing onto the runway. The incident occurred just hours after a drone sighting near the takeoff area at the airport, causing a brief disruption, with 26 flights diverted away from Barajas. According to the first official event of the campaign season, U.S. President Donald Trump's sons Eric and Donald Trump Jr. vowed to fight like no one has ever fought before as they campaigned in Iowa. The show of force by the Trumps in Des Moines was briefly interrupted by a demonstrator who was led away by security. Trump's sons told the crowd that they aren't taking any chances regarding the 2020 campaign and will be out on the campaign trail up until election day. We're going to have the greatest victory come November 3rd that any president has ever had in this country. This is what Eric Trump had to say.
But no, in all seriousness, it is. You can keep going.
February 11th, 2020 marks 30 years since Nelson Mandela emerged from Victor Verster prison, a free man after living behind bars for nearly 3 decades. Mandela would waste little time before becoming a central figure in guiding South Africa from the shackles of apartheid to multiracial democracy. Mandela retired from politics in 1999 and handed over power to a new generation of leaders headed by Thabo Mbeki. His decision to step down voluntarily after one 5-year term as president was seen as a shining example to other African leaders who stubbornly clung to power. Brazil is expanding its nuclear energy plant at Angra in Rio de Janeiro state, boosting the country's power credentials in Latin America. Brazil's development bank is backing the expanded construction of the Angra 3 nuclear power plant in cooperation with the private sector. The plant was first planned in the 1980s but dropped due to lack of finance. Building restarted in 2010, but Electronuclear was hit by a corruption scandal in 2015 and stopped paying contractors. French President Emmanuel Macron said that he hopes for greater defense cooperation with Poland over Libya, as well as in Africa's Sahel, where it is fighting Islamist militants in the south of the Sahara. In a joint news conference with Polish Prime Minister, Macron also said his country supports Poland's transition away from coal by using nuclear technology to produce electricity. Poland and Germany will be the biggest beneficiaries of the Just Transition Fund. Poland generates most of its electricity from coal, but is planning to build its first nuclear power.
L'industrie et l'avenir, vous l'avez évoqué pour l'un d'entre eux que nous allons regarder ensemble, le char de combat, mais aussi pour tout ce que nous souhaitons développer.
The murders of nearly 200 former fighters from the FARC rebels pose a difficulty in implementing Colombia's peace deal, but he insisted the government is committed to providing security and criticized plans leveled by the FARC party leader. The Andean country inked a peace deal with the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, rebels in late 2016, ending the group's role in more than 5 decades of conflict, which killed over 260,000 people. Malawi's Constitutional Court declares the May 2019 presidential vote that declared Peter Mutharika a winner and ordered a rerun after an application from opposition parties citing irregularities. Mutharika, Malawi president since 2014, won the election with a 38.57% share of the vote, with opposition party leader getting 35.41%. The Electoral Commission declared Mutharika the winner despite complaints of irregularities, including result sheets with sections blotted out or altered with correction fluid. Mutharika had pledged to crack down on corruption and revive the economy in his second five-year term. Swarms of desert locusts that have spread across East Africa could soon threaten widespread food production as they continue to move to more areas. The locusts, first sighted in Somalia in December, have since spread to Kenya and Ethiopia and are now within 200 kilometers of Uganda and South Sudan, as per the report. The hungry swarms threaten to exacerbate food insecurity in a region where up to 25 million people are reeling from 3 consecutive years of droughts and floods. On Sunday, Somalia declared the locust invasion as a national disaster. In India, days before Delhi elections, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to the electoral field, addressing an election rally in East Delhi's Karkarduma. The BJP is going all guns blazing, with its top leadership hitting the campaign trail for the February 8th polls. Earlier, Amit Shah, JP Nadda and Yogi Adityanath addressed rallies in different parts of the national capital. Prime Minister Modi will address another rally today. Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said that the BJP was trying to benefit from the protest at Shaheen Bagh, and if Home Minister Amit Shah wanted, he could get the route opened in 2 minutes. Sporting their signature blue caps, the men marched triumphantly through Baghdad's protest camp. Die-hard followers of firebrand cleric Muqtada Sadr were back in Tahrir Square, and they wanted everyone to know it. Sadr, an enigmatic Shiite cleric who shot to prominence years ago by battling US occupation troops with his notorious Mahdi army, has built a cult-like following across Iraq and controls the largest parliamentary bloc. Rarely seen in public, the 45-year-old with the round turban face has fueled the sense of chaos of months-long anti-government protests with a dizzying and often contradictory series of directives issued via Twitter. The Greek police fired tear gas to disperse migrants and refugees protesting conditions in migrant camps on the island of Lesbos and the slow pace of processing asylum requests. Violence broke out as hundreds of people marched from the island's congested camps to the main town of Mytilene. It is the second migrants' protest over conditions in just days on Lesbos. In January, the island's residents also protested over overcrowded camps. A government plan to transfer migrants off the islands to the mainland has been currently underway. Turkish and Syrian troops traded deadly fire in Syria's northwest, further raising tension between Ankara and regime-backer Moscow over the war-torn Idlib rebel enclave. An airstrike also killed at least 9 civilians in the same area, where the latest government offensive has caused one of the 9-year-old Syrian conflict's worst waves of displacement. The tit-for-tat shelling between Damascus and Ankara was the deadliest since Turkey deployed troops in Syria in 2016 and escalated tensions between the conflict's 2 top foreign brokers. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had offered rare criticism of Russia last week, accusing it of not honouring agreements to prevent a regime offensive on the northwestern region of Idlib. Self-employed private sector workers from across France, including lawyers, airline pilots, doctors and other health professionals, have protested in Paris against the government's pension changes. The demonstration by workers in the professions liberals will pile more pressure on ministers as MPs meet to examine the proposed legislation. A cross-party parliamentary committee will begin to examine each of the draft law's 65 articles in detail. The bill is aimed at merging the country's 42 separate pension schemes into a points-based universal system. Until now, the most vociferous opposition to the changes has come from unions and public sector workers, particularly rail staff, whose 6-week strike brought parts of France to a standstill. The famous Muslim scholar and explorer Ibn Battuta once called Taiz one of the most beautiful and extensive cities of Yemen. The city's heritage, rich with old citadels, Islamic schools and mosques, is now in danger. Warring parties used and targeted historical sites in the fighting. In 2015, an airstrike by the Saudi-led coalition hit Al-Qahira or Cairo Castle. A 16th century mosque was also reportedly blown up by Sunni extremists in the summer of 2016. The Iran-backed Houthi rebels have been at war with Yemen's internationally recognized government since 2014, when the Houthis took control of the capital, Sana'a. Monks from different parts of the world gathered in India's eastern Bodh Gaya city to offer special prayers for the recovery of the coronavirus patients. Monks held posters and chanted prayers at the Mahabodhi temple as they hoped Lord Buddha to fulfill their prayers and prevent the deadly disease from spreading. India reported its third case of the fatal virus on February 3rd in southern Indian state of Kerala. In China, the death toll from the coronavirus outbreak has now reached 304.